I don't think
What
you
do you
can
mean?
be.
If you swear in the first 5 minutes, you get demonetized?
Yeah.
Really? I feel like we would already be demonetized.
Well, we're not monetized at all because no one listens to us.
I know, but we would be demonetized in seconds if that was the case.
Probably, yeah. But that's
Yeah.
why, just out of practice, I try not to swear so much when we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, fuck.
This is All Games Go to Heaven, Episode 5, Halo Reach. All right, Mike, kick us off. Kick us off.
Well,
Episode 5, by the
welcome
way.
back. What?
It's Episode 5, just 'cause it's been a while.
Episode 5. Episode 5, that's right. And it's all because of me. Let me just start this episode by giving a long apology for pursuing my dreams and living the life I've always dreamed of living. Because for all of 2023, I've been on a film set or working on a film or doing something with film every single day of this year. And it will end the same way. And I'm proud, but it has denied me the great pleasure of both playing video games and talking about video games with 2023 Sexiest Man of the Year, Stephen Belair.
Where's this guy?
He walked out. He was there for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
He was
perfect.
there.
And
Sorry. Yeah.
I appreciate you trying to jump on that sword, but that's also not completely true. Because there was a day, last month, where you asked if I wanted to record, and I said I wasn't feeling well, and then you made plans, and then I changed my mind and said, screw it, let's do it, but it was too late. So
Yeah.
really, it's my fault.
Damn you for having a human biology.
Mm-hmm. A very fragile one at that. Thank you, Crohn's disease. God bless.
Oh, Crohn's disease 2023. All right.
Yeah.
Well, but this week or this month, whatever you want to call it, episode 5, we are talking about one of our favorite games that brought us together, Stephen,
Mm-hmm.
which is Halo, but not just Halo, Halo Reach.
Yes. I think we kind of got to start this one by saying or explaining why Reach. I've been thinking about this in the build up to us recording it. And we could, go into all the things we love about it, but there's like what, 7 Halo games, 8 Halo games now.
Yeah.
5 of them by Bungie, which the team,
Yeah.
the company that made the original Halo. Halo being the first one and Reach being the last one. I thought I turned off my ringer. I am so sorry about that. I'm just gonna. Yep, that never happened, and we're good. And so, I think people have a lot of strong feelings about the first Halo, the second Halo, and Reach. So why, for you and me, is it pretty clearly Halo Reach? Like, why do we find ourselves every few years playing this campaign on co-op Legendary, demolishing it in like 6 or 7 hours, which was I
Yeah,
didn't
well,
expect this time. Uh,
well, we'll get into that later because I have some updates on that one later. But when we get to
okay,
that point, we'll get to. Oh yeah.
sure, but why Reach?
Well, you first.
No, you first. I asked the question. Why would I answer my
No,
own
you
question
first.
first?
No, you
Why would I
first.
answer my own question first? That makes no sense.
Could you smell? Okay. No. Anyways. Okay. Well, why Reach? I mean, Reach. Overall, the Halo franchise. I mean, it is to me the epitome of a great you against the odds shooter that's not so fast-paced scrolling ADHD medication shooter like Doom is, for example, right? It's like it's a game where you get all these odds thrown at you. Let me just fix this mic. You get all these odds thrown at you, but it's not like I have to be processing things a mile a minute to experiencing like Doom or Duke Nukem or any of these old legendary games where that offered the same thing. But with Halo, I always went into it saying like it's me versus the world. And with Reach, I think you have this customization of Spartans that had never happened in any other games because all the Halo games focus around Master Chief, this one last Spartan who is carrying the torch for humanity and trying to save the universe from the threat of the Covenant and the Flood. And we'll get into a little bit of that later because we're gonna get into a portion of this that we're gonna pretend the audience has no idea what the heck Halo is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for Halo Reach specifically, they took you back. They took you back before when there were other Spartans and you could customize a Spartan and you and your buddy could make a Spartan that looks how you always dreamed a Spartan would look like. And then you and your buddy are thrown into not just another adventure of you against the odds, but you on the last sort of stand planet of where all the Spartans met their end besides Master Chief, or for the most part in regards to the story. And it's just you against the odds. It's you against overwhelming hordes, just like all the Halo games, but it's just done so well. It's such a tight story. It's just such a tight campaign, and it blends in all the things that they've taught you to love throughout all the other games and gives you this beautiful linear story you can go through while doing those.
Yeah, so I will say that Halo Reach couldn't be what it is without everything that came before it. So, when Halo starts, the war with the Covenant, which is, the main alien species, is already raging. You're on a ship that's on the run. And, over the course of 2 and then ODST, which was you don't play as a Spartan, you play as a human. That's an orbital drop shock trooper. That's a mouthful. Mm-hmm. And then Halo 3, where, the war with the Covenant and the Flood ends. You have all this context that then Halo Reach gets to be the precursor to, which is the start of the war. So you're not, like you said, you're not a lone Spartan. You were kind of your character is a bit of a lone wolf, but you get sent in to be part of Noble Team, God rest him, as to, replace their missing member. And, you're investigating at the beginning, and then, holy moly, it's the Covenant, and you get to see the start of this war and witness, the overwhelming odds and superior technology and firepower that's just decimates this planet that you're on while everything feels like a last ditch effort. Like it's just, every mission is do or die.
Yeah.
The stakes are crazy. It never lets up. And even though what's coming, it almost feels like you can change it, the ultimate outcome. You can't, but it almost feels like you can.
Yeah.
And I will say the last mission, being the bookend and into Halo 1 was like a genius touch by them.
Yeah, and on top of that, you got to see a lot of the characters you were used to seeing, like Commander Keyes and others, like the what is it? Walsey, right? Is the scientist Walsey?
Halsey, Dr.
Is
Halsey.
the one Halsey, who Cortana's designed around, and Bungie, after coming through 5 games and optimizing that technology, you got to see all these characters that you had seen in like their most basic pixelated form suddenly in beautiful graphics for the first time. Yeah. There's a lot of things, but you said it right, where there's a build up, because this is a good little segue, and I'll keep it brief, but like the whole Halo franchise is about the idea that humanity has been at war with this alien threat known as the Covenant. Because I read the books, and the Covenant was this accord or this gathering of alien species that had been conquered by the Prophets. I'm pretty sure were the head of the Covenant, and the Prophets have gathered all these different races, brutes, elites, grunts, jackals, all these different races under one banner known as the Covenant, and they're sort of sweeping the universe looking for these forerunner technologies or these precursor technologies, which in the first game you discover as in the form of the Halo, which Halo is this giant forerunner weapon that is, you find out throughout the games, has been waiting there to be turned on to sort of purge the universe of all organic life before this disease known as the Flood, this plague that has been just kept dormant within the Halo vessels or the Halo artifacts, has been kept dormant in there for so long, and the Covenant accidentally opened it up, and then it becomes this giant journey of Master Chief.
The humans open it. It's the humans that open
it.
Yeah, and it's a parasitic organism, so it latches on to anything organic and takes control. So it needs hosts, and it reproduces at a crazy rate and will just infect the whole
Yeah.
galaxy, universe, whatever you want to call it. So the Halo rings, like you said, once activated, eliminate all biological life
Yeah.
so that the flood can't survive.
Yeah, crazy. I forgot that the humans were the ones that did it. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was the humans.
That sucks. Well, there goes my whole justification.
I,
So
I,
the Covenant kind of
I think the Covenant would have done it if they got there first to like
Yeah.
whatever that location was, the library or whatever, because the Covenant believed that the Halo rings and the Flood will like take them to the next plane of existence, but really it's just
Yeah.
gonna kill them.
Yeah, and that's something where you see with the prophets and their religious zeal throughout the games because they're introduced in the second game. And I remember there's a little bit of a civil war that breaks out between the brutes and the elites over whether they should follow the prophets towards turning on. Not for many reasons the civil war starts between them, but I remember one of the big issues is like, do we turn on these Halo rings? Because this character known as the Arbiter you get to play in game two kind of discovers that all is not right with the original plan and the intent that the Covenant were brainwashed to believe was the ultimate path to salvation, And, they do a really good job throughout all three games kind of growing the threat of the flood. And the funny thing is about all three of the original games was that, and here's actually, this is going to be a perfect tie-in in a second. I'm not always the biggest fan of fighting the flood, but I actually had friends and I knew people who were like, I would love Halo if I could just fight only the Covenant all the time and I didn't have to fight the flood. Because it does at some points get annoying. You just open bay doors and just these little, especially when you're on legendary, these little guys that in like 3 pops kill you and they're like really hard. You waste all your ammo trying to get through them. And some people were like, I would play this game more if it wasn't for the flood. Another reason why I think Reach is superior because you only fight Covenant.
Maybe I never had an issue with it, and I think Halo 1, you don't really fight them until like the last, I say, quarter of the game, which is probably
Yeah.
why the people that have that issue really like the first one, but might take issue with 2 or 3. I'll be honest, I don't remember 3 at all, and it ranks at the bottom for me because it left zero impression on me. Halo 1 would be right underneath Halo Reach for me. And then Halo 2, Halo 2 brought dual wielding SMGs and the visual fidelity. I think the story definitely took a step up in the second one. And you already mentioned the Arbiter, where you're playing from the Covenant perspective of someone that is a zealot and then discovers the truth and is trying to expose it and, gets outcast. And then it's like, how does the story end? I couldn't tell you. I don't remember Halo 3 at all.
I do remember semblances of it, but I remember number 3 being so over inundated with the flood, so flooded by the flood. But yeah, that one had too much flood. Like I remember that being annoyingly so. Because I'm with you, 2 was still fun, but 2 extra stands out in my heart. Not that I actually have the same order you do, where I go Reach and Halo are even for me. I actually don't prefer one over the other.
I do.
I just because I know you do. I know you do. And that was the difference maker in us picking which one to do. But like 2 is right there underneath. I like ODST underneath that. And then 3 is like even under number 4 for me. Like I prefer 4 to number 3 because 3 was just annoying.
Ew, dude.
3 was just like
Don't talk about.
I know,
Don't
what's
bring
wrong with
4
me?
and 5 into this. Get out of here.
I know, but I prefer 4 to 3. That's how bad I didn't like 3. But 2 and 3, I mean the saving grace is that 3 served kind of like a Call of Duty to me in that I don't buy Call of Duty for the campaigns anymore. I buy it just to play online. So like Halo 3 was that same step for me where Halo 2 still had a good story and it innovated the gameplay. You could jump on vehicles that were attacking you and you could kick the rider off.
Oh, so good.
Like that was all cool shit. Yeah, it was so good. And then the online though for Halo 2 was beautiful. It was like one of the best online experiences until as a shooter until Call of Duty came around. Because other than that, there was Counter-Strike and I don't even remember what else.
You could argue GoldenEye, but that's more on the couch with your buddies.
Yeah, that wasn't online.
No, the first Halo is credited as sort of being not the very first, but the first shooter on a console that made it feel good. because I that used to be like exclusively a mouse and keyboard domain where it was really good and high skill ceiling whatever. That didn't really exist on console until Halo.
Yeah.
I mean, Halo exploded. There's so many like fan made movies within the Halo engine, like Red versus Blue. I don't know if they're still going or not, but like people made all kinds of crazy stuff back in the day just in Halo multiplayer. Comedy, whatever, drama. Like, it spawned a lot. Halo spawned a lot.
That's what I mean. That's to me was always the innovative factor that kept me coming back, and that's why I call it a Call of Duty moment with Halo 3, because I was hopeful that maybe they might redeem that beautiful essence of Halo 1 in there, something like that with the campaign. But I knew no matter what happened, I would have a good time playing on upgraded graphics online. You know what I mean?
Sure.
No matter what happened. And that's where Call of Duty has lived in that hell for me for a long time.
That one after Modern Warfare 2, I didn't have the patience anymore for Spawn Dead. But speaking of memory, what really blew me away when we were playing this time in November was how much you remembered everything.
Yeah.
Me, it's still, even now, it was only a month ago that we played. I couldn't tell you each level. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. Maybe if I was looking at it, but if you asked me right now, I'd be like, don't know. The ending, of course, I know. I honestly kind of forgot the beginning already. I'll always remember, my favorite level, which is the one where you're with the bullfrogs. I think they're called, where you're doing the jetpacking around.
Yep.
Always love
like
that
the fifth
level.
or the sixth level.
Yeah. But the fact that you were just like, okay, in this level, this is going to happen. And then I'd be like, are you sure? And then sure enough, like every single time, would question it, but every single time you nailed it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, like the one you like so much is the one where right after George dies when you crash on the earth. You come back. Yeah, you crash on the earth and then you have only your pistol. And you've got to defend. No.
It's not right after George dies, because right after George dies,
Well,
you're going through the city with your pistol, then you got to meet up with the squad.
And then
So
you
I
have
do
to
remember
end
that.
up. And you have to do that defense at the end. See, I don't remember everything.
In the moment you
But it's
did.
probably the one right after that.
In the moment you did. It was uncanny.
Yeah, because I get to markers where I remember, okay, we've done this, so this level must be next and stuff like that. But I don't know. Because for me, I will admit that Reach, when it came out, was the game I spent the most time on. Like, I was beating Legendary by myself with like all skulls on at one point. Like, it was insane. Like, I remember doing no death runs. Well, you have to have a no death run on Legendary, I guess. But like, yeah, I remember just doing like no death runs with no skulls and stuff just because I got so good at that game. I got so good at that game.
It still shows. Out of the two of us, you're definitely the superior player.
We were keeping up.
I think I did.
We'll see.
I hold my own, but I'm not gonna. It's. I'm not like upset about it. You're better at it than I am. But the co-op, and I gotta get this on the record because this really pissed me off. The fact that the Master Chief Collection doesn't have built-in split screen co-op is complete bullshit.
True.
All of those games had split screen in them where you could play on your friend with a couch. I had to use an application that essentially hacks my computer so that it can run two instances of the same game at the same time so that we could play this on the same screen. That's such bullshit, and that pissed me off so much.
Because they want both of us to be having our own console and our own computer and our own copy of the game and be tapping into it through Bungie.net or whatever their portal is, or through their online play. That's just like, people don't want us to sit in a house and be warm and friendly. They're trying to kill community, Steve. They're trying to kill our tribes.
I don't think that's necessarily true, and we can still, hook up online like we're doing now and have a conversation, but, and it's like, I get that. That's a great feature to have. I'm not like, oh my god, internet, I'm a freaking boomer, whatever. No.
You should have the option.
Yeah, during the pandemic, I mean, that kind of socialization kept me from going insane, and that's how I made some friends. It was just gaming online, but not have that option when it was there 10 years ago fucking pissed me off. And there you go.
Yeah.
Fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck YouTube. Okay? Demonetize me now.
Oh man, I've already said hell. I think I said shit. Anyways, but I'm with you because, and especially because Halo's known for that. Like that's the whole reason why we played these games is because I remember in Halo 1, like going over to buddies' houses, we beat the campaign, and then all of us just take a controller, jump into Blood Gulch, and just keep smashing each other with indestructible warthogs over and over again for hours on end. Like that was entire Friday nights, and just seeing how far we could get the glitch on the warthogs to flip us into the air for how long. Like,
But the perfect example of how synonymous the couch co-op is with Halo is our buddy Corbin. I don't remember if it was Halo 4 or 5. He bought it, not like inspecting the package or anything, brought it home so that he could play with a buddy, and they put it in, and there was no co-op. Like he just spent $80 on this game thinking like, Halo game, of course I can play this with my buddy at home. Goes home and you can't do it. Like that's crazy. But that's not Bungie's fault in that case. That was when 343 Industries took over. But what's the excuse for the Master Chief Collection, which is all of the older games that were all done by Bungie? I'm just gonna say money because I'm gonna be cynical about it.
yeah,
But
yeah, you're not wrong.
I'm grateful that that crazy application that let it happen worked, and it seemed to work pretty problem free. And we were able to, beat it a lot faster than I expected. You might have a better memory of our previous times than me. I don't recall ever beating it that fast.
Well, so here's the thing. When I got home from Toronto, after we beat it that well, I turned on my Xbox copy. And I just wanted to see if it felt the same. And I do think it was much, much harder on the Xbox copy. Like much, much harder. Like it felt like the enemies were harder to take down. Even though I know how to take them down very easily and I know that game like the back of my hand, you can argue that both of us were in the system and that's why. I legitimately think that in the Master Chief Collection, they stripped the difficulty down and they allowed the full difficulty of what would have been the original Legendary to only be accessible if you turn certain skulls on.
Did you look that up in any way, shape, or form?
No, that's just a theory. That was just pure hypothetical. I'm just like, because I remember going to another buddy's house early days when Master Chief Collection came out and playing the original Halo and just like killing time at his place. And I had the same feeling with the original Halo. Like the same feeling where I was like, this is too easy.
Maybe
because this is an accessibility thing.
Maybe you're just a older, wiser, better gamer, Mike.
I will say this with confidence. 16-year-old Michael, or even like mid-20-year-old Michael, his gaming chops were so superior to mine. I can't even, like, I do not have that magic touch that I had back then. It was like I lived and breathed this shit. Like I was like I had an instinct that was like nothing.
I think maybe your reflexes and your grasp of the controller would have been better at 16, Mike, but your mind now is far superior. 16-year-old Mike was a fool.
Oh man, my mind wanders now. It's like when I bought the relaunch for the PS4 of the Mass Effect, and I beat the entire first game in under 25 hours on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah, but part of that is you're not exploring every single nook and cranny. The first time, there's no way. The first time
I didn't do everything, but I got like 80% or 85% or something crazy like that.
Bullshit.
Man,
I'm not buying you did that in 25 hours. 80%? No way. No way.
I'll show you.
Show me. I want to see receipts. Because that game is easily won with one playthrough that I put like 50, 60 hours into.
Sure. I have two.
So, how do you accomplish 80% in 25
I did
hours?
skip, well, knowing it like the back of my hand. Like Reach and the first Mass Effect, I know like the back of my hand. Like to the T, like pop-ups would come up and I'd be like, oh, it's this mission. Oh, it's this mission. Like I just like shit I remembered, but Mass Effect's also, I'm probably just going to say this online, but I'm not going to say it. But I was going to say it's the only game I've played with a unique fungal experience. How's that sound?
Mass Effect?
Yeah, I did. I
Unique
tried it that way.
fungal experience.
I got it on with spores and they spread all through my body.
But I wouldn't put that past Mass Effect. I would now, but not the first one.
I know the first one was very edgy like that.
The first one, it was just didn't. Well, anyway, this isn't about Mass Effect. This is about Halo Reach.
Yeah.
It's about
It's about Halo Reach.
Yeah.
But so let's take a second here, but let's talk a little bit about Bungie because I do think Bungie's, we always talk about the developers a little bit. I mean, I did a little bit of research on Bungie. I don't know. I'm sure you'll be able to fill in some blanks because I don't have a lot. But like, I remember Bungie was one of the first video game companies that I looked into as a young writer because I was like, damn, like, they're doing Halo, they're keeping this franchise alive. They ended up going on to do Destiny and Destiny 2. Very, very, very good shooter system they set up early days, and they weren't afraid to explore story with that, which was something that was very unique. And the only game I had heard about from, because Bungie launched in 1991, and the only game I had played from their original set of games before they got taken over by Microsoft was Oni. But even then, I didn't really play Oni very much. It was like a third-person samurai shooter.
No, it wasn't. Shame on you. The Microsoft thing came way later. They weren't owned by Microsoft for a very long time. They were just
Until
published.
2000.
I don't think it was in 2000 that they were bought by Microsoft. They were making games for the Xbox. I'm pretty sure Microsoft didn't own Bungie. But anyway, Oni was not a samurai
Which game am I thinking of?
Oni is you're confusing samurai with anime, basically. It was like an anime third-person shooter. You play like a cop and a female anime cop in a futuristic society, but it was a mix of melee combat, so like punching and kicking with timing-based combos, and third-person shooting. It was mostly martial arts. Like the ammo for guns ran out pretty damn short, and then everybody had the no mouth. So whenever anybody was talking, it was just the head shaking. Yeah. But even back then, I think they were ambitious in their storytelling. And I've played that game. I've actually beat it a few times. Like I actually like it. I think it was innovative for its time. You don't really see that kind of mix of mechanics, shooting and martial arts. Yeah. So I think it still holds up. It's definitely kind of campy, and even there is a moral choice in it that you don't really know is there until the ending, which is kind of funny. Like the police chief who's your handler. There's a moment where you can kill him when like the cops are coming after you because of course you're now on the run, or you could choose not to. And at the end, if you don't kill him, he shows up with a bunch of reinforcements when you're fighting the last boss. Otherwise, it's just you versus the last boss and a bunch of his minions if you do decide to kill the police chief.
Wow, but that's like something you wouldn't think about because it's like the immoral decision is the better decision for your gameplay in a sense.
Yeah, and then before that, they were making games that kind of look like... I'm not going to look like in the sense of it's that flat plane where you move through it, like in Wolfenstein. Sci-fi as well. I forget the name of it, but
didn't they do a game called Myth or something like that? I remember there being something along those lines.
I don't think Myth is Bungie.
But Oni, the girl had purple hair, right? Or something along those lines, like a purple suit or something like that.
Blue suit. I don't remember what color her hair was.
So I definitely am thinking of a game. Yeah, because you reminded me that's not the game at all I was thinking about. I'll tell you when I.
What were you thinking of?
I don't know. What? I have a memory of an overhead view one where I always had a blade and a gun.
Samurai gun.
Yeah, in the 90s for sure. No, but anyways, all this to say, they've
been making games for a while. A lot of it has been first person, and after Oni, they moved to Halo, as far as I know. I'm not. Yeah. I'll say we've done a pretty piss poor job of doing any research ahead of time for this one.
No,
But
I did on this one. I did a little bit. That's where I know in 2000, Microsoft and them either partnered or they acquired them because they decided that the launch title for the Xbox was going to be Halo after they saw the original sort of concept they had going on at Bungie. And they continued that relationship until 2007. And then they tried to stay independent. And in 2022, Bungie has been rebought again by a company. Now they're owned by Sony.
but
Yeah,
I
Bungie's
know
been bought by Sony.
Activision bought Bungie
Yeah.
because they were trying to go off of the not go off of sorry they were trying to profit off of Destiny and Destiny 2 because the live service games, if they're successful, are a huge cash cow. And then Bungie decided to split from Activision, and now you're telling me they're owned by Sony, which is super weird.
Yeah. Crazy, eh? 2022, just last year.
That's weird. I don't know why they just can't seem to stay independent. I mean, their games are successful enough.
Maybe they need the infrastructure of just like a company that actually can do the not necessarily the design work or the programming work, but the launch work. Like, you know what I mean? The rollout and the distribution. Because like everyone they're partnering with, yeah. Because everyone they're partnering with seems more like a publication front than an actual developer going in and optimizing their games in any way.
Well, they also laid off 500 people this month, right before Christmas.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There's
Ooh.
it's been a bad year for layoffs across the video game industry. That's
Yeah.
the biggest and most recent one, and I mean that's not a good sign when 500 people are getting laid off.
Yeah, but a lot of companies are going through that because I've heard about this. I mean, this even the few friends I have in Ubisoft, like they had trouble too in the last 2 years. You know what I mean? Like at multiple branches, not just one. It is the question of like, how are you? I think they're kind of going through a bit of a. I don't. This is me just speculating, and we're just talking right now. But I think it is kind of having a bit of a Netflix syndrome where now you got all these launch platforms and all these and everyone getting bought by freaking Microsoft. Everything being acquired by Microsoft, where it's like if you're not in the Microsoft family, you're just gonna get destroyed little by little.
I hope not. I hope not. And I mean, Sony's made some of their own acquisitions, and we're so far off topic now. But
No,
so
no, 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 because Halo's owned or Bungie's owned by Sony. So there you
I
go.
suppose so. Like hey, Sony's made some acquisitions, and I think their lineup is looking better than ever coming for the next 2 years. They have Marathon. That's the name of the game. So Bungie's origin, one of their oldest games is called Marathon, and they're doing a new version of that. That's what they're working on right now. It's only had a cinematic trailer, but it looks pretty visually. Like the colors and the visual style of it were really amazing. Yeah,
Okay. There's our Bungie talk. There you go.
there's our Bungie.
There you
Talk.
go. There's our Bungie talk. But now, going back to Halo, no, I mean, like, but it was one of those games where Bungie, when they came out and the Xbox came out, I mean, Halo was the first game that made me want to become a console fanboy. You know what I mean? Like, I never had that with Metal Gear or anything like that or any of the early titles. Like, I liked a lot of these games, but nothing made me a console fanboy until Xbox came out with Halo because Halo was so innovative. And, like, even if it was just you and your buddies playing on LAN parties and stuff and everyone would bring an Xbox, like, those levels were amazing. Like I still remember, like I said, Blood Gulch. I think Battle Creek was another crazy one. And there was a couple others that were just nuts. Like they stand out still to this day in my front in the front of my memory as some of the best multiplayer matches I've ever played.
I multiplayer's never really been my thing, but even I know some of those some of those levels because they're so like legendary among Halo fandom, I guess if you want to call it. It's like Two Towers and Unreal Tournament. Anyway, I didn't have that sort of console awakening, if you will, because I guess my dad got Halo on PC. And then I also had a PC at the time. I'm very fortunate to have one that could play Halo. And, he would beat it, and I would beat it, and then we found a way that we could play together. And that was sort of my experience with it. But it felt like such a step up above everything else that I had played to that point. And
Yeah,
then
because both
go ahead.
I was just gonna say both story and gameplay.
Yeah, and then for me to bring it home, Halo Reach has that same feeling. Still to this day, and the first time I played it, have that feeling of booting up the original Halo for the first time, but it's a better game because they have 10 years or whatever it is of experience to build off of, plus the story, which is great. But the like you have those Spartan abilities, which are really cool, and I don't think they're like overdone. All of them are pretty short. Like they have a short duration. That's the word I'm looking for. They don't last super long, and their use case is like kind of specific. So it's not like you're spamming abilities. You just have this extra tiny tool that might save your life for like 2 seconds. If you're playing on legendary. There's you have all of the weapons, which it is kind of funny that some of them didn't exist in Halo 1, but they do in Reach, like the battle rifle.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny that came later and is in the prequel. You have all the access to all those weapons, all of the Covenant weapons, some of which are really great. Like the needle sniper. I think we're both a big fan of. And I do prefer, now that I think about it, just playing against the Covenant. And there is something I in no other Halo game do the elites feel like such a threat as they do in Halo Reach, in my opinion. There's something about them in Reach where it's just like a Spartan's like what 7-8 feet tall in the armor. Like they're not small. They make regular people look tiny. And then you have these dudes in the Mark IV armor or whatever it is, all kinds of genetic modification and enhancements so that they're just the peak of human physique and evolution. And then they have to do this. They're looking all the way up to try and be eye to eye with an elite. And they can just... There's a lot of great moments in the cinematics where, they're showing a couple of the Spartans, going toe-to-toe with these guys. But even then, like, these elites still clown, like, the peak of humans in the peak of their technology. And so, when it's me and you rolling through, cover this, cover that, and you get this squad of elites coming at you, even though we're both pretty damn confident at this game, it's always an oh shit moment. It never doesn't feel like, oh crap. It's not like, there's some elites. It's like, oh shit, here comes some elites.
Yeah, because you have to have the perfect gun combo to take them down easily, right? You always have to. It's and it is funny that you say that they did kind of like, they did bring back the terror of the elites, because I think it was lost in number 2, because in number 2 you were meant to almost fear the brutes more than you were the elites.
Yeah.
And in number 3 you were supposed to fear the flood above everything else. And then they did bring it back with Reach, where suddenly you're like, oh my god, these elites are the hardest thing for me to fight, because I had an easier time jumping into a pack of brutes than I do jumping into a pack of elites, just because they're more precise, their weapons are more plasma based, because the brutes use those more like Needler-esque kind of hand rifle machine gun things.
Yeah, it's kinetic instead of
automatic.
a kinetic weapon instead of an energy weapon, and they just tank hits. They're just these big, meaty, freaking burly meatheads that will just run straight through a machine gun because it tickles them. And that's scary in its own right, but I like you've said, I have never had that same experience of like I'm not going to rush into a pack of brutes. Like, now I'll probably do that. I'll be fine. Yeah. But I see one elite with a plasma sword and it's a bowel evacuation.
It's true, and then on top of that, throw on the fact that usually another one will have like a rocket launcher somewhere nearby, and you're fucking jumping into literally a hornet's nest of this shit. And with brutes, the only thing you'd have to worry about is like one's gonna have a hammer, the next one's gonna have a couple kinetic rifles, and like I don't know. I did like the idea that they reclaimed the elites and they made it better. But and you said it yourself, and it does come down to the fact that they recognized, and I'm happy they recognized but not only they're happy to recognize, because the whole idea of Halo Reach is it takes place before the games of the original Halos, right? So the Flood isn't in the game yet. And if that's the case, it's like cool that you have forced yourself to get into a scenario where you can only use the Covenant, but also good on you because that is some of the best combat. Like it is some of the best one-on-one combat. I'm not, even the Forerunners, when they tried to introduce that in number 4.
I didn't like it.
I just,
didn't work.
no, me neither. And it never got to that point of interesting me to the point of the elites, because you do have this beautiful combination of like jackals, grunts, elites, and even brutes, and you combine and then throw in maybe what's it called, hunter or two, and you get this moment where it's like this weird battle squadron where you have to figure out who am I going to kill first. Well, maybe the grunts are the first people to die just to get something pesky out of the way. Then you try and take down the jackals, or you try and take down the jackals first if you have ranged weapons. Then you take down the grunts, you try to get in there, and then you try to isolate the elites on their own. Like, It's very rare you're just going to jump in and be able to take down the elites first with all these little pesky vermin around, or varmints, let's call them.
And there's some nice little touches in Reach. The one that comes to mind in Halo 1, 2, and 3. At this point, or at that point in the story, the Covenant is pretty well versed in humanity and who the Spartans are, or what the Spartans are, and Master Chief specifically. So the grunts, the lowliest level of the Covenant, in those games, if you catch them unaware, the grunts run away. And they scream in terror. Yeah. They don't do that in Reach.
No.
Because they don't know yet. They'll run up to you with a grenade or just with a pistol because they don't know to be afraid of Spartans yet.
Yeah.
And that attention to detail is part of, just another piece of what makes Reach my favorite puzzle.
Yeah, but it is, but it's crazy because at the same time you still are a Spartan, but you're made to feel so. Like I guess you kind of prove, like Reach proves to me why Master Chief is so much more badass, because he was the like pan ultimate to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. Because at the same time, all these Spartans are getting dummied left and right around you. Like, here's a good question for you. I mean, we're not, this is never a bad time to ask these things. You asked me, what's your saddest death from Noble Squad?
So you're asking me now?
Yeah.
Oh, George for sure.
George was your saddest?
George. George.
I don't know why. I thought you said Cat when it happened.
Cat's is... I think we talked about it, which is why you thought that. Because Cat's is so anticlimactic. They're running for shelter after successfully finishing a mission, and there's just this random phantom that happened to be there, and Cat gets one-shotted by a jackal. Just so unceremoniously. And from that perspective, it's like it's gut-wrenching, but George's is the most heartbreaking for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I think they did that to show... it doesn't take a ship exploding in space to kill a Spartan. Like they can just go like that, They're not.
Yeah, but that's why they're
not invulnerable super soldiers.
Yeah, but that's what I mean by that game shows you that these Spartans are still just regular soldier, not regular, but enhanced soldiers, because it is just one shot, boom. You've just been all through all this stuff, and your character at this point has fought through ranks of tanks and fallen from space onto Earth. And like you've gone through crazy shit, and then all of your teammates can be doing the same thing, and then it just one little pop, such a simple little pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but George was definitely my most heartbreaking too, because I mean, the thing with George above all else is the fact that here's this noble sacrifice. I mean, you spend this mission getting up into space because you're going to take down the big ship that you think is the bulk of the invasion force that the Covenant has. Yeah. Just a giant carrier. And you get up there and you destroy it. And George sacrifices himself by manually turning on the bomb. And you're falling from space thinking to yourself, okay, George did it. He took down the mothership, like no big deal. And then literally, 30 more of that same ship hyper jump in at that very second.
It's not the same ship. It's even bigger ones.
Even bigger ones.
Bigger
Yeah.
ones just start popping in like crazy, and you realize all of that was basically for nothing. And George's sacrifice means nothing. It was a drop in the ocean compared to that what just showed up because you did that. Like that
Yeah,
was
I mean,
that mission is the poke the bear moment.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the only other time I felt that way in some of the other games was I remember in ODST at the very end, you're driving through South Africa, I'm pretty sure, and same idea. This giant carrier gets there, and I can't remember if like you have to destroy it or what, but that was the only other time where it was like it was terrifying seeing the size of these ships just destroying everything. And and you really feel it more because then the mission after the one you love so much where you do the bullfrogs with the bullfrogs and you're jumping with the jetpacks was probably my favorite mission where you're going in a chopper and you're going in those VTOLs going rooftop to rooftop. And in the background the entire time you're just watching these giant ships just destroying the planet and you can't do anything about it. Like, what are you doing? You're just evacuating people. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. You can't do anything.
Yeah, and I think you highlighted something they did really well in this game too was the sense of scale. So you have the the VTOLs, and then there's a mission where you see one of the Earth ships come in and it uses its huge cannon to blow a hole in a ship that looks even bigger than it. And it works, and everyone's celebrating, and then all of a sudden, just something that makes your 17-kilometer-long spaceship look like it's nothing, and just dummies it with a huge laser blast. So that sense of scale in this game was really well done, too.
And I mean, the only time I remember the first time I felt that sense of scale is when you have to jump on that giant spider in number 2 at the very beginning of the game, where like you're in the city and that giant spider comes down.
Yeah,
that was the first time Halo really explored, for me personally, that sense of scale. Where it's like in Halo 1, sure, you're on this giant halo, and there is a carrier there's a Covenant carrier, but then in number 2, it's like early days. They just set you up with like, hey, here's this giant spider you got to jump jump on the back of it. And I think that's also the one where you have to jump out of, in number 2, you have to jump out of a human carrier and you like float through space as a ship's getting torn into with a bomb in your hands that you're trying to deploy onto another ship.
Yeah, that's a cutscene at the end of the very first mission. Because the second one starts, you're in one of the orbital defense platforms above Earth, and then the Covenant comes to Earth, and they put a bomb on the station, so your objective is to get the bomb out of there. And Master Chief drags it to an airlock, and then just opens the airlock and rides the bomb down to another Covenant ship and blows it up. It's epic.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the main character in Reach? What are we called again? What's
Noble
that guy?
Six. Noble Six.
Yeah, Noble Six. I mean, Noble Six is the closest that they come to having a character similar to Chief. Because like Noble Six does fucking everything.
Noble Six does everything, and that's why. So when Cortana has to choose someone from Noble Team to take her to, oh no, what's the name of the ship now?
The Pillar of Autumn.
The Pillar of Autumn, to take her to the Pillar of Autumn. I mean, okay, yeah, they have to give it to the player character because
the player, sure.
But that's who she chooses is Noble Six, is you, because you're the best of them. And even I'm forgetting the captain's name now.
I just always call him the captain.
Yeah, but he's got a name. Anyway,
they all have names.
They all have names. Yeah. The captain.
Well, George Cat. Well, there's George, Cat, June, Emil, Noble Six, and then Captain.
Captain. So Captain, makes a similar comment. He was like, she could have chose Eddie, she chose you. She made the right choice. Before he nobly sacrifices himself in the Pelican.
Yeah.
His was a good death too. Like that.
They're all good deaths because even like when you're saying about the threat of the elites, when you said about those cutscenes, I mean, one of my favorite cutscenes is Emil's death at the very end when you just hand it off to the Pillar of Autumn, or just before, and you see Emil in the giant cannon, being like, taking down people, all these elites that are rushing him, and then he's taking everyone down, and then one stabs him in the back, and then he just turns around, takes his knife, he's like, "One for me, one for you," and just stabs him
Yeah.
in the neck. But that was another moment where I was like, "Damn, these elites are intense." Like, look at how easily they just stabbed Emil through the back, and just like that was an intense death too. They all have an intense death.
They all have a pretty, except for Kat and June. We never see die.
Yeah.
Emil, I think his is a badass death. I don't find that one emotional because he's
No,
always
no, no.
he's always kind of a dick. And George is the most
Soft.
human, I would almost say. Like he's definitely the most compassionate. Like he hasn't lost his empathy completely, like it seems the rest of them have, going through what they went through since childhood to become Spartans.
And I think he's a local. I'm pretty sure he's a local to Reach because there's the whole scene when after just when they first find the latchkey discovery that leads to Cortana, they find that girl there, and he can speak her language, the local girl, the frightened one. Like he kind of understands her better than the others. I'm pretty sure he is a local of Reach.
Or he just speaks Hungarian.
Is it Hungarian? Is that
Yeah.
what it is?
It's Hungarian. And I think they even say it. Because that's the only way I
I
would
was
know,
gonna-
because I didn't look up what language they're speaking. So either it could. I think you're probably correct, because he right away identifies the farmers and he knows how to talk to them in the first mission. You're probably right. I just don't know. But he constantly shows like his human side. Like
Yeah.
Emil's like, just get rid of the girl, and he's like, dude, she just lost her dad. Like, keep talking like that, and I'm gonna clown you.
And Kat is literally half machine.
One arm.
I know, but it's just funny to me because she's so. But even the voice actress that voices her does such a good job. Like out of all the characters, Kat is probably my favorite character though that they created in that because even the voice actress they added to her adds such a dehumanizing touch to her. Like even when she's being sarcastic, it feels like she's part robot. Like I don't know, the hand maybe lends itself to that, but they really did do a good job with Kat's acting and everything like that. Do you have a favorite character out of the team?
Well, Captain's definitely the most vanilla, but I don't know.
Yeah.
His like acknowledgement of you and him warming up to you, I still appreciate. And Emil, again, like, yeah, he's that guy that's always, he's got the skull carved into his helmet and, the big knife here, the shotgun. Like, yeah, he looks badass, but I don't really feel like he has much character development beyond just like, yeah, I'm the fucking badass of the noble team.
Yeah.
June seems nice. You don't get a lot from him either. So it really, your choices are Kat, George, and Captain No Name. So probably Kat.
See,
I do. Yeah.
it's easy to love Kat.
I also think there's a subtlety to her dynamic with Captain White Guy. Like the two of them have an unspoken understanding. Like they know what the other person wants or needs from them before they have to vocalizing it. It's subtle, and it's crazy to me that they were able to do something like that in a game from 2010 or 2009, whenever it came out.
2010.
Yeah, so Kat definitely does more of the heavy lifting in that relationship in terms of portrayal, but for that reason, I like her.
Well, and on top of that, just I think another such beautiful aspect of Reach in general is the story and the characters are rich. Like even though June and Emil only serve singular purposes, like Emil is just there to be with you to the end as this like shotgun wielding knife guy, and June is to be there as the sniper who gets Halsey out of her lab. Like at the end of the day, it just comes down to the fact that the writing behind this is very good because like I remember reading the Halo Reach book. It was one of the few books I actually read out of the franchise, and like
I also read that book.
Yeah, and they touch some of the things, but in the book it's totally different, right? Because they focus on John's story, and they do focus a little bit on Master Chief's training and their training as kids and stuff like that. So you get a lot more. But I find in the game it felt like its own separate side story, because here's this last group of Spartans that not only have to deliver Cortana to the Pillar of Autumn, but they're just watching the world they love and humanity being helplessly destroyed around them. Like the beats they fall into are really good. Like the whole idea of this crashed Forerunner vessel that's trapped under ice. That's actually where Oni's sword base was built on top of to preserve. Like they do a really good job exploring the nuances of beyond Black Ops projects that would exist in the military. Like they go into the whole compartmentalization aspect of it. They make you feel like they did such a good job creating like a real human military, versus in the other ones you always had fucking what's his face.
Oh, the sergeant.
Oh, what's his? Yeah, sergeant
With the cigar in his mouth, I was talking like
I know
this.
what the ladies like. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just freaking cocks the gun. I know what the ladies like.
Yeah, that's right.
He's got his lines. Like he's got those lines.
He's got the zingers, yeah. And you touched on it there. There's a really good moment between Kat and Noble Six, your character, who does have a few lines. Like he's not completely uncharacterized. When the big ships start showing up, and they do what's called glassing the planet, which is just these ships are so massive and they have this huge plasma cannon that shoots down and obliterates everything, and it's so hot it turns the ground to glass essentially. And they're running away from it, and Kat asks you like, is this your first glassing? And you're like, yep. And she says, me too. Like, are you scared? And you're like, yep. They're not above fear. Like something like that level of devastation, like instantaneously, basically. Yeah, it's terrifying. So there is definitely a tone between Halo 1, 2, 3. You're the unstoppable super soldier, Terminator, John Rambo, whatever you want. Halo Reach, even though you're a Spartan as well, it's much more like Band of Brothers,
Yeah.
It does feel like anyone is going to go at any time, and even though in Band of Brothers we know they're going to win the war, in Reach you always feel like you're fighting a losing battle, even though, like I said before, it does feel like you might just survive or turn the tide, but you don't. I think you could make an argument for inevitably you do turn the tide of the war, by getting Cortana to the Pillar of Autumn in the last mission, but you're definitely not going to survive.
But I'm with you. It's like there's always that part of me that's, even when I'm watching like a prequel show to a show that I know ends with everyone dying or like something like that, I'm always like, is this it? Is this the writers going against the canon? Like, what I mean? Is that it? Does the Sith win at Hoth? Or does the Rebels win at Hoth? Or something like that. But
Yeah.
it's always that case of, same with me. It's like it is that moment of me being hopeful that this could be the exception to the rule. Maybe Master Chief wasn't the only one who got off the planet. Maybe Noble Six did.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else did. June clearly might have, but you just made me think of something though too. But another badass aspect, and I didn't even think about this, is in all the other Halos, whenever I'm rushing into combat with NPCs who are human, they're dead in like 30 seconds on Legendary with me. But
yeah.
these guys have to survive, so at least you have someone who's by you all the time. Like, you're never truly alone, because like with Halo, that's always the craziest time. Was like, I always remember with I don't remember what the name of the one is. I think the one where you first unlock the key room in Halo 1, where you have to drive around on the beach on the little island.
Okay.
That early level. You have this car, and my guys, every time I roll up to a place, my guys are all dead. So I have to keep going back to this point where all the soldiers
I
are
know
gathered.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're like, oh my god.
But even in Reach, it didn't escape the useless ally thing. So the Spartan allies that have to survive until their predetermined death via cutscene.
Yeah.
Like, can't hit the broadside of a barn, or if they are shooting something, it never goes down. It has to be you that takes everything out. And then, like, whatever you do, don't let them drive. For the love of everything holy, never let them drive. And then you have the human NPCs, which aren't Spartans, which are just the more useless version of the Spartan ones because instead of being invulnerable, they can die.
Yeah, but at least with Reach, I can kick out a human one and wait for the Spartans to get in the spot I want. You know what I mean? Like there is a couple moments where I remember being like, okay, as long as I get George or Cat on the gun, at least I have a gunner that's not just gonna die right away. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have somebody who can actually get into the shit with me. They're gonna get blasted a bunch and they'll survive. You know what I mean? They'll survive.
They'll survive, sure, but I mean, like compare having, Cat or George on the gunner seat versus one of us.
You
Like
or me, yeah, sure,
on those
sure.
sections where you're doing a loop trying to take everything out on the Warthog. This is the difference between like looping for an hour and looping for 5 minutes, maybe.
I know, I know. So, out of Reach, do you have a favorite moment that you kind of remember out of all the video game beats in there? Like not just like a level, but do you have
Yeah.
like a favorite moment or two that comes to mind?
Is there one that comes to mind for you while I think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I have one or two of my favorite moments. Are number one is definitely when you're in the VTOL level, the one where you're going roof to roof. That whole sequence, first off, is amazing because I think they really they really needed to nail, like in the other games you always had banshees for Covenant flyers, right? You had Covenant tanks and you had warhogs for humans and tanks, but they really needed to land and make it stick for the human VTOLs. Like this is the first human flyer you get to really fly, and they did it. They did it very well. They did it where it's like not the first one, you get to fly the jets earlier in, like the space jets, but like when you're going from roof to roof and you get to the one that has the hunters in it,
Yeah,
the one that's like
that's
the
the
new
that's
club
the
of the
club.
hunters.
That's the club.
Yeah, that's the club, and we kind of scurried out of there because we were just getting pwned. But like I was getting slapped because I always have like this amazing time where like whenever I was playing on heroic or legendary, I just wanted to run in there with a shotgun and just do my best to try and take down as many as I can by like jetpacking over them, shotgun, jetpack over them, shotgun, like getting these like matador kind of moments. That scene always stands out to me.
Well, this time specifically when we went there, like you go in there and there's whatever grunts and jackals. There's no
Yeah.
elites. There's two hunters, and I remember we got one of them down, and then the people are evacuating, and we're dealing with the second one, and then two more showed up,
Yeah.
and then that's when I was just like, okay, well, there's no point. Like, I'm out of here, and then you kept going.
I know.
That was
I just wanted a badass club moment where like the lights are on and I'm just jumping over these guys. Yeah, I was getting bad. That was like where I died the most in our entire run because I was just doing crazy shit in there.
I think that whole mission is probably where we died the most. So because legendary, we'll
right.
talk about this real quick. So legendary
Right.
co-op is a bit of the easier version of legendary because as long as one of you is alive and you can get far enough away from the firefight, the other person will come back if they died. So it's not like in single player you die, you restart the checkpoint.
Yeah.
One person goes down, the other person can get away. So it is a bit more forgiving. Except the frickin' vehicle missions.
Yeah.
They are ridiculous because they are just as fragile on legendary as they are on normal. Like you have to play those missions basically perfectly. And we got stuck there for a bit at the end when you have to take out all the
Yeah.
turrets. I think that was probably our longest single section where you have to take out all those anti-aircraft turrets while banshees are coming nonstop. Like we were stuck there for a while.
Yeah. Well, because they just keep coming, like from every direction.
Yeah.
So it's like our only strategy was blitz the freaking turrets, let one of us die. Don't worry about bringing them back, and just just keep going. Because like what else could we do? We tried that so many times.
Yeah,
Man.
we tried fighting the banshees and being strategic and taking them away. Like it just didn't work. We had to say screw it at the end and just try and Hail
Yeah.
Mary it, and it worked. But at the same time, that doesn't feel like the best way of going about it. Of just being like, screw it.
No, but I mean we had to because they just keep like it seemed like this time on Legendary they just kept throwing more and more and more whenever we did something.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
you were bringing up another moment.
Well, and the only other moment that it really always stood out to me was at the end of the level where you guys do your countermeasure, your counteroffensive, the one where the level, it's like level 4 or 5, and it starts off with like all the warthogs rolling up together in unison, and like the humans trying to fight back against the first wave. At the end of that one, you crash land your carrier into that structure that's covered by the giant bubble shield.
Yeah.
Where there's that tower in there. Raiding that tower was one of my favorite moments too, because like there's a couple ways you can do it. There's a banshee in the air, and there's a couple jetpacks around. You can come into your banshee and then like roll around and just blow up everything up top. You can fight your way up there and then get up there, and there's like a guy with a sword and other things.
Yeah,
like,
how'd that go this time, Mike? How'd that go this time?
I kept bringing you back.
Yeah. Yeah,
You were dying. I was fine.
you just got out of the banshee, you were circling, doing nothing, and I kept respawning in front of the sword guy, and he would just be like, "Oh!"
And I killed one elite up there. Only one.
Eventually,
Only
you abandoned the banshee, and we went up there together, and we schooled him. It went so much better when you ditched the banshee.
You're right. You're right. You're not wrong. But you know, when you can have the jetpack there, the thing you can get up there is, and this is where they did a really good job with Reach. There's so many scenarios where there's like not a million, but like 6 or 7 or 8 different ways you can approach a scenario. Where there's like sometimes hidden paths along a rock ledge, or like a sewer grating you didn't realize was there that gets you into a tunnel that sneaks you behind. And they did a really good job creating a very dense, packed combat area from scenario to scenario where you could figure out different ways to do things.
Yeah, it's like it's a playground in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that mission
What
you were
about you?
talking about with the counteroffensive, though, the first part of it, so after the Warthog jumps the broken bridge and you wake up on the beach,
Yeah.
or not on the beach, but on the cliff or whatever it is.
Yeah, on the ridge.
Yeah. I really wish they didn't give you that grenade launcher. There's not many weapons that I say, or I think are crap, but that human
Useless.
grenade launcher in Halo Reach is the biggest piece of shit ever.
I know.
It's so
I know.
terrible.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That and the and I hate the Covenant grenade launcher where you have to prep the 4 grenades that have to like sequence
Yeah,
in, and then
yeah.
they launch and they stick to something. One of the slowest pieces of shit I've ever had to use in any Halo game. Like wow,
Yeah.
like, what the hell's wrong with you? Anyways, yeah. But what's your favorite moment? What's something
So-
that comes to mind?
Couple of the ones that come to mind is so after the George sacrifice and you know fall from space with your armor locked, the fighting through the city to try and get back to the squad, and you get picked up on the helicopter, and it's just that like sunset with Noble Six looking out. So that whole mission I just really like it, given you know what came before and then how it ends. Like it's very intense, like fighting your way back and then you know trying to link up with everyone again. And then probably both of, because you go to the Saber facility twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the ones where you're going to defend it and you meet Dr. Halsey, and then there's the second time where you're going there to get on the ship, the spaceships that you know don't exist. I really like both of those assaults, because that, especially the first one, you have all of Noble Team rolling up there. You know, there's just explosions and stuff going off in the distance, and your whole squad rolls up to you know take this facility back. I love that part.
Well, in that whole game, though, I mean, that's because even the assault, the counteroffensive mission, like it's so cool. It's like I waited so long to see an army of humans attacking an army of Covenants. Because even in number 2, they didn't really do that. Like you see a combined human offensive, like fighting back, but you don't get to see to the degree you see it in Reach, where you literally feel like you're storming it alongside like a whole army at times.
I'll say that's probably the only moment that doesn't hold up for me in the game, because
Which
that moment of all of the warthogs and the tanks rolling up
okay,
is the only moment that doesn't hold up for me, because visually
Why?
anyway. Well, everything else is very like cinematic, has a lot of color, and you know it feels very I don't know, dramatic, I guess, for a lack of a better word. The counteroffensive, it's literally just a flat brown plain, and you just have all of the you know forest green warthogs like doing this and rolling up, like, and then when you're looking like at them instead of above them, it's just like there's cliffs on both sides, and then it's flat, Like there's no dynamics at all to the terrain or the skyline or anything. I'm sure they had to make that sacrifice to get all of those units on the screen at the time. But that's the only part where I look at it and I'm just like, this didn't hold up so well.
Well, that whole level, in fact, has amazing gameplay beats because that's the level with my tower, but like has a lot of great gameplay beats. But the terrain itself and where they bring you is pretty boring, like because you have to blow up two more of the shield generators,
Yeah.
and then you have to like it's cool stuff you do, but the terrain itself is pretty bland, like on that mission.
Yeah, it gets there's some verticality to it. You get some sharp mountainy terrain if you want to call it, but yeah, otherwise it's just brown most of the time. And there's not much going on there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Kinda
not a
like
big fan
me.
of that level now that I say it. Screw that level.
Well, it's got one of my favorite beats in it.
Yeah.
I know, but overall, look, that game in general, though, it's hard because, like, even the ones you mentioned to me stood out for the first time. Like, that's why I'm so disappointed when I look at, and I tried to play Halo 4 or Halo 5, where it's like, it just never did it for me. It never gave me those moments again where I felt like that. Like, Reach was the last time in a Halo game I felt like that.
I don't think either of us has played Infinite.
No.
Supposedly, you get that feeling back. I haven't had. I think it's on PC now. I don't remember, but I don't have a modern Xbox, so I can't play it if it's not on PC. I'd be curious. I don't have any interest in the multiplayer, and it's got all the battle pass shit that's so common with games now. But apparently,
Yeah, man,
the single player campaign is solid, and if you like that playground aspect, like you were describing in some of the levels in Reach, it's the bigger version of that. Like, because it's
Yeah,
open
and I heard
world.
it's a giant open map or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. From what I understand, it's not all open from the beginning. Like you
Okay.
get more and more, and it gets bigger and bigger, which I think is a smarter way to do it than just fucking here you go.
Sure, sure.
I guess in terms of controlling the narrative, there's something to be said for a giant open playground, and Ubisoft has made a killing off of doing just that. So I like that approach. But I think that's just me being a narratively focused person or gamer, whatever you want to call it.
No, I mean, I look. You're gonna find this funny, but I'm actually getting to a point where I'm tired of open world.
I've been tired of
I'm
it for a
getting
long time.
I know you have. I know you have. But even for me, it's like I see all these new games being announced, and I'm like, oh my god, another Infinite Playground. Like I'm like, I can't. You can't ask me to just get lost in this. And all of you guys are doing a forest, and all of you guys are doing a mountain range, and it's like, at least if you're gonna do that, the only game that even remotely appeals to me that does that is A, Starfield, and B, um, the one from the developers that offshoot off of Bethesda, the ones that they just came out
Oh,
of.
Obsidian. Obsidian.
No,
is
not
the
Obsidian.
No.
No, no, but there's another game that just came out where it's like you use cards to vary the portals that send you from one. It's like almost like a Victorian steampunk game.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyways, all this to say, I'm getting a little tired of that. And a game that did that open world little by little release very well. I remember I don't know if you ever played a game called Red Faction Guerrilla.
No. I played earlier ones, but not that one.
Well, that one's same idea. It's like they gave you a little bit at a time. Like they gave you a little bit, and then it would come out. You'd go a little further, and they'd open up more, and you could go back, and the stakes would change if you went back. But and I cannot find the title of this thing. If I told you though, you would know like what's coming out. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Is it already
It'll
out?
eventually. I think it either just came out. The whole story of it is though, there's these portals that you go through, and you find cards that change what kind of enemy, what kind of topography, and what kind of elements are going to be through each portal. And it's almost not like an infinite, but a very large set of new challenges every time you set up the cards to find new things on the other side. It has the whole Fallout survival aspect of it. It has
Is this a third-person shooter?
first-person shooter.
Damn it. Okay. I thought I figured out what it was, but I did not.
No, but and it's in my head, and it's right there, and so many people have been praising it lately. Anyways, those are the only two open worlds that really interest me right now. Like, I am more interested right now in story-driven stuff, and a game that, yeah.
There's another samurai game coming out on PS5 that's gonna be like that, open world, I think. That looks really interesting. And if a Ghost of Tsushima 2 ever comes out, I will play that day one if I can.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm exhausted. Like, I haven't gone back to Death Stranding. I don't think I even have any other open world games like installed or anything like that. I'm so burnt out on it.
Well, this might be a good time to slowly start wrapping it up because you do actually have an open world game coming up your way in the next weeks.
Oh yeah, maybe this is what you should be apologizing for, is that you promised chaos and discontent last episode because I was going to have to play Ocarina of Time, but here we are talking about Halo Reach instead.
And I'm down to the last 8 hours of gameplay on Ocarina of Time right now. I'm down to the last 2 temples, so as soon as those are done, we can start recording that episode because all I've got left is the Shadow Temple and the Desert Temple, and then I just got Ganondorf and I'm ready to go. So yeah.
Ask me how much I've played so far.
Doesn't matter because you have to play it.
Ask me how much I've played so far.
0 hours. I don't need to know the answer. Just like I'm gonna have to play Prey after that as well.
Oh my God, you're not gonna hate Prey.
I don't care.
And I also found well, actually no, I'm not gonna tell you what I found. You're not gonna hate Prey. You're not gonna hate Prey. You're gonna be like, oh, I really like this game. I already convinced you that you're not gonna hate Prey because you thought it was from somebody else. As soon as I told you it's from the guys that made Dishonored, you were like, oh, I really like that game.
We'll see. I've watched more videos. I still am so not interested in the design language.
Oh my God.
The area, like I just there's
this
nothing.
Is so forced. It's so forced.
It's not forced.
It's so forced.
It just seems like the same carbon copy bullshit that I've seen on so many other games. Anyways, we will see what happens when I play it. I'll play it just like you're gonna play Ocarina of Time. But on a last note to Halo, what is the thing that'll make? What is the? Give me a last note of like something you'll remember about Reach for the rest of your life. What's like a last sentiment you want to leave people with?
If you want your heart broken, play.
That's terrible.
Play Halo Reach. If you want to get depressed by interactive media, play Halo Reach. I don't know.
Only because you'll never play a game as good. That's what he means to say.
I still feel like there's games that are better or just as good. I don't know, man. It's how do you sum up your feelings like that? It's just, shouldn't the last hour and a half be that? It's the first time I think you can have a personal connection to your character in a Halo game because like you get to customize them. It's a story. It's a tragedy, and I think it makes a good case for games as art. Maybe, I don't know if that sounds pretentious or forced or cliched, but I think if it makes you feel something, it's worth an experience, and more so than any of the other Halo games, where I would classify those as power fantasies. Halo Reach got real emotion out of me.
Well done.
Man, fuck you for that. Fuck you for that question. Your turn. Okay,
well, anyways,
Mr. Word Poet. Here you go.
You're signing us off on this one because I agree with you. This is a first-person shooter that's a piece of art.
All right.
That's it.
Been
a pleasure, Steven.
That's Halo Reach, buddy.
That's Halo Reach.
I can't wait
We did it! 2 months! Woo! We got one!
And I'll see you in 2026, 2027 when we play it again.
Yeah. No. I will be done Ocarina of Time by mid-January and we'll be recording by then.
No, I meant our next playthrough of Reach because we seem to do it like every 3 or 4 years. I'm not talking about the Ocarina of Time. If that's 2026, then this podcast is dead, man. All right, buddy.
Well,
I love you. Always a pleasure. And,
Always a pleasure.
Oh, I guess we should, since we're so close to the holidays, say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everybody. To the three
Happy
people
holidays,
that listen,
Merry
we
Christmas.
appreciate you. And bye.
Bye, guys.
A special thanks to Aaron Rastovic for the sweet beats.
Fantastic.
Great game.
That was a great game. One of the
That's
greats.
great. Great game.